Welcome everyone to day 22 of Python for Beginners tutorial. In this day 22, I will explore inheritance in Python. After completing this tutorial, you will be able to get understanding what is inheritance and how to implement inheritance in object-oriented programming in Python. In OOP or object-oriented programming, inheritance is the capability of one class to drive or inherit the properties from some other class. Inheritance allows us to define a class that inherits all the methods and properties of the superclass. There are two concepts in inheritance. One is the parent class. The parent class being inherited from, or is called the base class, we sometimes call the superclass or general class. And the other is called child class, is the class that is inherited from another class is called derived class. So this child class going to be inherited from the parent class that inherited the properties and the methods from the parent class. So first of all, let's show you how to create a parent class. So I'm going to show you creating a parent class called rectangle. This rectangle class has two attributes and some few methods that are going to access the attributes of the rectangle. Let's define the attributes of the rectangle through the constructor of the rectangle objects, which are width and length. And let me access the attributes of the rectangle through self keyword. The self keyword is the instance of the class. And then this base class has some few methods, for example, area and perimeter that are going to access the attributes of the rectangle and return the areas of rectangle and perimeter. So we can instantiate the object of the rectangle and access the methods of the rectangle, which is the base class. And pass the arguments through the constructor of the rectangle. And print by accessing the methods of the rectangle using instance name. That is area of the rectangle is 200 because area of rectangle is width times length, and perimeter of the rectangle is 2 times the sum of width and length. Okay, next I'm going to show you how to implement inheritance. In this case, I have a class a square, which going to inherit the properties and the methods of the base class rectangle. This is what inheriting the objects of the base class. So this is what called child class or derived class, which derived this from the base class. So this square is also a rectangle, but it's somewhat more restricted in that it has same height as length. So we can subclass a rectangle and import this in our code. Let's define the constructor to access the objects of the superclass. And in addition to accessing the superclass properties and methods, the subclass also has its own methods and attributes. So, for example, length is the attributes of the subclass. And then we are going to use a super function that used to give access to the methods and properties of a parent or superclass. So it returns an object that represents the parent class super, and we can use the class name of or object name of the subclass and the object itself. Now we can use dots, which means the dot operator is that used to access the methods or properties of the superclass. In this case, it's going to return or give access to the objects of the superclass. So what are the attributes of the superclass? There are two attributes in the superclass, weights and length. So we take the both weights and length as a length because area of a square is height times length, and the height and length are equal. All right. Now I can also define its own method, for example, area. In this case, I don't need to just calculate or use the formulas to calculate the areas. I can inherit the methods defined in the superclass through super function. And it's going to return the area of the square. So this area is the method is defined in the superclass, and the superclass method going to return weights times lengths, and I just replace the weights by lengths in the subclass, and I need to pass the argument of the length through the constructor of the subclass. And now going to instantiate the object of square and pass one argument only, for example, 20. And now I just print h dot area of the subclass. Now calculating the area of the square is significant because this area 4 is the length of the square and automatically assigned to the weights of the rectangle because I'm accessing the object through the super function in the subclass. Okay. And we can also access the perimeter of 2 times 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. Okay, that's the perimeter of the square. So because I already inherited all the methods and properties of the superclass in the subclass, so I can access whatever defined in the superclass. Okay, everything can be inherited in the subclass, and the subclass also add its own additional features. Now that we understand objects, classes, and constructors and inheritance, object-oriented programming is a perspective that programs are essentially about the creation of objects and the interaction between objects. In object-oriented programming, almost every piece of code either describes an object's attributes, or an object's methods. So keep in your mind of the perspective of object-oriented programming that can help us understand what's happening in our program. So these are inheritance concepts. I hope you enjoyed in this video tutorial. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Write comments below. Thanks for watching.